When I turned 28, I cried a little because I felt like my 20s was slipping away and I hadn't accomplished enough. Now, I'm turning 32 soon, and I wouldn't say I'm wealthy or a master of anything, but I feel good. I feel self-assured, content, and generally happy. Somewhere along the way, I realized that 30 was never meant to be a deadline for success, and it's never too late to learn something new or discover fresh passions. I pursued a lot of hobbies in the couple years before I turned 30: digital art, video editing, photography. I didn't start out good, and I don't regret starting out bad, embarrassing, or cringe. I think in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that I will regret at some point is not taking the time to nurture all of my potential. Pottery is something that I only started at age 31. Last year and this year, I took a break from long-form YouTube videos to focus on short-form content to grow my business, One-Off Ceramics. But I miss vlogging, especially now. A lot has been happening. Soon I'll be moving to Seattle after 9 years in San Francisco, and my partner and I are soaking in our last summer here. It's always such a treat to enjoy omakase on special occasions, but we feel especially connected to each bite when Chef takes the time to share how each ingredient is sourced and prepared. Chef Ken, originally from Hong Kong, brings more than 20 years experience to his craft. He's funny, personable, and deeply passionate about food, sushi or otherwise. The evening felt intimate, with a small number of guests at the bar, Chef Ken and his apprentice trading stories and laughter. And of course, the food was nothing short of delicious. Ken in the Lower Haight is such a well-loved local gem, and regulars would stick around until closing time. Check out this double gourd vase. It's over 12 inches tall, and when I was carrying it out of a narrow aisle, I got spooked and I threw it in the air. I have a studio buddy who likes to forage parts from other people's work and hand-build Frankenstein's creature, so I'm going to wrap it up and put it on her shelf as a gift. And these are some oil cruets. Throwing them is not the hard part because I'm pretty good at throwing. The part that I'm unsure about is the opening measurement, because these are greenware, which means they are not fired yet. After 2 firings, the bottle will shrink down some more, and I'm not sure if the opening measurement is right. Right now, the oil pourer already fits at greenware, which makes me a little bit nervous, but if they end up being the wrong size for oil cruets, then they will be bad vases. This is a 13 inches tall, skinny gold vase thrown with 3 pounds of clay. I'm trying to find the best strategy to trim this vase. Usually I would trim my foot, and I have this skinny chuck that I threw especially for my vases with skinny necks. But I think I'm going to make an exception and not trim the foot of this vase because of how skinny it is. The center neck is way too skinny for the chuck, and I suppose I could put like thick clay lugs here, kind of giving the vase a necklace in order to trim it on a chuck, but I think it is way too fragile to trim with a chuck, so I'm not going to risk it. Instead, I'm going to spend most of the time trimming, just refining the shape right side up like this, and burnishing really well to push the sandy particle inside the surface of the clay, making the vase really smooth so that glaze would adhere to it really nicely. I also made a couple of swirly vases that I really like. I think standing still, they are very sculptural and beautiful, but when I trim them and spin them on the pottery wheel, they're just downright hypnotizing. For the longest time, the technique to make these swirly vases did not come very naturally for me, and the reason is because I like to do most of my wheel throwing at almost the top speed. I have a need for speed. Anyway, these swirls are created when your hands move up the wall of the vessel at a speed a little bit faster than the speed of the pottery wheel. So my tip is to slow down the pottery wheel when you attempt this, because if your wheel is already going fast, it's kind of hard to determine how fast your hands have to move up. I grew up in Hanoi, so there's one place in the city that I could recommend for authentic Hanoi pho, and that place is Pho Huong Viet on Geary. Too bad, I don't have a car and I don't live in the neighborhood, otherwise I would have it at least twice a week. We've had so much good food over the long Labor Day weekend, and part of it is celebrating my birthday, but the other part is slowly saying goodbye to SF, visiting all of our favorites that we love. On my birthday, my partner and I decided to be tourists for a day and went out on a sunset sail. Living in SF, we barely go to Pier 39 unless to take friends and family from out of town to visit. It does have the reputation of being a tourist trap, but you also get the most beautiful waterfront view and city view. On beautiful sunny days, it reminds me how much I love SF and how privileged we are to have access to nature in the city. When I came to San Francisco 9 years ago, in 2016, I just graduated and actually wanted to move to Seattle, but I did not have money for housing, so I came to SF to stay with my aunt and uncle for a couple of months while applying for jobs. Even then, I thought if I found a job in Seattle, I would make the move, but I found a job in SF, and after that job comes school, another job, the pandemic, friends leaving, and all these years my partner and I still stayed. We reconnected in the city, started dating, moved in together, got our first cat Benji, our second cat Sammy, and we fostered 14 cats together. I started my first business here. My partner started his first business here. It's funny how SF was not my first choice, but over 9 years, I couldn't imagine living elsewhere. When we first discussed moving to Seattle, it felt daunting and I wasn't sure if I was ready. San Francisco has a lot of bitter and sweet memories. I spent most of my 20s here fighting for things, but for several years now, whenever I travel anywhere in the world, I call it my home. I've come around to moving to Seattle, and now I'm actually pretty excited about our new chapter. But SF definitely has a piece of my heart.